on to the types of historical criticism. Historical criticism had two types, the external criticism and the internal criticism. Let's discuss first the external criticism. This type of criticism tests the authenticity of the sources. It is interested in the writing styles of the eyewitness and his ignorance to the facts. The historian also analyzed the original manuscript, its integrity, localization, and the date it was written, to ascertain if the particular data is fabricated, forged, fake, corrupted, or a hoax. The authenticity of the material can be tested in two ways, the paleographical or the paleography, where you can do criticism by deciphering or dating historical manuscript, including the analysis of historic writing, or by critical analysis of the historic documents to understand how the document came to be, how the information was transmitted, and the relationship between facts purported in the document and in the reality. This is otherwise known as diplomatic. The critic must determine whether the material under investigation is raw, meaning unaltered, and it exists exactly as the author left it. The content must be viewed in every angle, as forgery was not unknown during the Middle Ages. The authority of the material can be examined from the genuine sources having the same subject or written during the same period. The similarities of the agreement and the differences or disagreement of common details, such as the culture and tradition, and the event during the period by which the document was made, can be a basis for judging the authenticity of the text. The sources must undergo the test of authenticity. The first step to test a source is to determine the date of the document to see whether it is anachronistic. Anachronism means the order or time, something that could not have been there at that particular time. It could be a person, thing, idea, place in the wrong time. Second step is to determine the author by his or her handwriting, signature, or seal. Obvious sign of forgery includes patch writing, hesitation as revealed by ink blobs, pauses in the writing, tremor causing poor line quality, and erasures. Even the writing is unfamiliar, it can be compared to authenticated specimens. The third test is determining the authenticity of the sources by looking for the anachronistic style. In this test, we will examine the idiomatic expression or orthography used in the documents. Orthography is a set of conversation and writing, a language. It includes norms of spelling, hyphenation, capitalization, word break, emphasis, and punctuation. The fourth step is the anachronistic reference to events. The shafting of documents at a time when the alleged writer could not possibly have been at all place designated, or his or her alibi. Uncovers fraud. Sometimes skillful forger has the copy in certain passages. By skillful paraphrasing and invention, he or she given away by the absence of trivia and otherwise unknown details from his or her manufactured account. For example, if the event cited in the document is prior to the actual event, then the document must be forged or fake. The fifth test of authenticity is the provenance or custody of the documents. Provenance is the place of origin of earliest known history of documents. It traces the roots of any sources. The other two tests of authenticity is the semantic and hermeneutics. Semantic is the linguistic study of meaning. It is in this test semantic determine the meaning of the text and words of the sources. Hermeneutics is more than interpretation or methods used when immediate comprehension fails. In historical criticism, we determine ambiguities, which are the words or expression that can be understood in two or more possible ways. Historians may look also if the statement is meant to be ironic. For example, there's other meaning than what he says. Let's move on to the second type of historical criticism. It is internal criticism. It refers to the accuracy and historicity of the facts contained in the documents. In this type of criticism, it's not necessary to prove the authenticity of the material. However, the facts contained in the document must first be tested before any conclusion pertaining to it can be admitted. In determining the values of facts, the character of the sources, the knowledge of the authors, and the influence prevalent at that time of writing must be carefully investigated. It must be ascertained first that the critic knows exactly what the author said and he or she understands that document from the author's point of view. Moreover, the facts given by the author or writer must be firmly established as having taken place exactly as reported. In internal criticism, the sources or eyewitnesses must undergo the test of credibility. The first step is the identification of author. In these steps, historians also examine the mental processes of the eyewitness. If he or she is capable of telling the truth, or he or she is mentally challenged. Finally, we'll look for his or her personal attitude. If he or she is telling something beyond what he says or bragging about it. The second step in testing the credibility of the eyewitness is to determine the approximate date. Physical and chemical examination can indicate the use of multiple typewriters, printers, papers, or writing instruments in the preparation of a document. The third step is the degree of attention and the willingness to tell the truth. If the eyewitness is coerced, forced, or somebody is threatening him to tell something, then his account is not valid.